Hello, everyone. Matt Savage here and Tyler Patterson from Thunder Valley Resort and Casino in Lincoln, California. It's been an awesome event, and we are here at the final table, the final six. Tyler Patterson, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm pretty excited about this. This is my home casino, so I'm here sweating everybody that I know here at the final table.
And one of the questions I get the most is, where is Lincoln, California? Tell me. It's your hometown. Let me hear it.
Just outside of Sacramento. We're like about 30 minutes from the airport and 30 minutes from downtown.
We have been in this casino multiple times, 10 years. We've been World Poker Tour here at Thunder Valley, and this is our biggest event to date. As you can see, our final table right here. In seat number one, our chip leader has $10,450,000. That's Alejandro Jauregui. Tony Dunst, WPT commentator, who was supposed to be with us today, second in chip, 71 blinds at $7,125,000. Albert Tapia, also at our table. He's got $4.5 million in chips. In addition to him, we also have in seat number one, Scott Eskenazi, who has a nice stack. He's got $2,150,000. And Jeremy Joseph in seat number three from Buffalo, New York, $2,050,000. And then Albert Tapia, Sacramento, California. He's our local player, $4.5 million in chips.
Victor Paredes is also a local player here. He's one of the most successful, actually, at Thunder Valley. And I think today it might not even matter what position he finishes. I think he's going to be the #2 all-time passing Brett Murray or being right behind,
Brett Murray. Brett Murray is a legend here, as you may or may not know, but he has quite a record here. But we're going to see what happens. As you see Tony Dunst right there, he had a rough ride last night late and then climbed right back up to second in chips. He almost went bust. They had to actually count the chips to make sure that he wasn't out. He was down to 6 big blinds and rode it all the way back up to second in chips.
Tapia was also down to 6 big blinds at the final table last night and spun it back up to where he's at now.
Absolutely. Starting at 1,500,000. So you see there, we have our players at the table. Vegas Golden Knights hat. We like to see that. Let's go. All right. So Tony was under the gun here, and he folds. Okay, Scott has king, queen.
Scott has 22 big blinds in king, queen.
You know Scott, right?
Scott's a very close friend, actually. I played a lot of poker with Scott in the Seattle area, where I lived for 25 years and played a ton of poker.
He's not a professional player, right? He's a businessman more than anything, but loves the game.
Yeah, he owns his own business in the Seattle area, but he's probably played, I don't know, 15 WPT, something like that. He's had some success.
All right, we're going to have a confrontation right here on the very first hand as Victor has ace-king. All in for $3,025,000. Now, Victor's one of the shorter stacks here. And Scott does let it go.
30 big blinds for Victor there, and Scott could feel like he's being pressured there just because of his stack. Scott only having 20 big blinds.
What do you think about the shove there? You okay with that?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, ace-king it's almost automatic there. You could go for a small 3-bet, I guess, but the stack sizes don't really warrant it. I think just pretty automatic.
Interviewed Victor after the final table was reached last night, and he has a lot of confidence going in here today. When you have so much success in one place, I think that kind of lends to that being great.
Yeah, he's had success in cash also. He's one of those rare players that dominates cash, also dominates the tournament scene, comes out to Vegas every once in a while for some stuff, and definitely kicks butt out here.
Scott's laid it down. Go to Jeremy with the jack-8. He will let that go. Albert's folding.
Oh, Victor, ace-king right away, and now queens. Little whole card rush for Victor to start it off.
That confidence may be paying off early here. And he does race to 300,000.
Tony has a king. That's the only thing that the card reader could find there. We got to play that little
raise 750.
We get to play along with him. We're kind of This is exciting not knowing what one card
Tony
is.
with a 3-bet to 750, yes, and a quick call from Victor.
A quick all-in from Victor, actually.
Oh,
and Tony
sorry.
is... Now we get to see what that other card is. Well, it's not an ace or a king, I'll tell you that much.
Victor with a great start here at this final table.
All the players are playing very quickly. Those are big hands to be over with in less than 30 seconds.
Before you really look at them, if you could spread those cards in that box.
They're playing with the action clock, right? They got
Yep, they have an action clock and 8 time chips, so 8 time extensions, 30 minutes pre-flop, 30 minutes post-flop. Now, we did something different in this tournament. That we started with 15 seconds and 30 seconds, and that was at 80 players. So just trying to get that pre-flop stuff, and getting rid of the stalling as we approach the bubble time, and I think it worked pretty well. We are always looking to improve on the World Poker Tour, and it's one of those things that we've put a lot of thought into, and actually consulted with 3 of the top poker players, the people that play a lot of WPTs on that, and I think we've come up with something good. Consulted with Joe McKeon and Daniel Negreanu and Darren Elias, so 3 people that have had a lot of success and play a lot of WPTs. So we'll see how it goes. But this is the first time we used it, and I think it was pretty successful at this spot. All right, now Tony with King 9. Whoa.
Raise it up.
Makes a big bet, 1.45.
effectively putting Scott all in, and Scott just almost beats him in the pot with ace-10. I think that Tony might be surprised to see that Scott's willing to put it in so lightly.
All right, Scott with ace-10. He's all in for $1,825,000. So Scott looking to double up here early at this final table. Oh, and the flop is an ace.
Almost no sweat. It's really hard for Tony to come back from this one.
So queen on the turn. It's going to be a rough start here for Tony Dunst. And Scott Eskenazi doubles up to 3.8 million with a pair of aces.
Much needed double up. He had 1.7, so he was at 17 big blinds.
1.825.
That was a perfect spot, Scott. Didn't take it. He gives his wife Victoria the thumbs up there in the audience.
And his dependent Ashwin Saren in the crowd also.
I think Ashwin's already sleeping in the
booth. I like being in the booth back here with you, but I would rather be in Tony's chair right now.
Absolutely. You had a little deep run here yourself. You kind of fell a little short of the money. Is that true?
Yeah, it was very close. I got to be a part of the buzz that is when the time extension chips come into play.
Okay.
And yeah, I think I was 76th. It had paid 74, so we were really close. Got to feel the excitement.
Raise it up, 350.
Raises to 350,000.
But it was a successful festival, you know. On the festival
Absolutely.
events,
We had the 1K Deep Stack Thunder Valley that drew 1.4 million in prize money. It was amazing. Albert raises to 350 with the ace-10. Alejandro makes the call. Flop is King 10-10. So Albert's flop trip 10s here. Let's see how many chips he can get winning the spot. And Albert does make a bet of 300,000.
Alejandro's in the big blind, and we only know that he has a 4. Not a ton of 4s are going to continue here, but you know, maybe ace 4 would peel one. Perhaps king 4, 4-4. Other than that, it'd have to be a creative float.
Raise, make it.
Oh, a check raise with a 4 in his hand. This is beautiful.
And so Alejandro does make that check raise, 9.2 million. And Albert has to be pretty excited at this point.
Yeah. So he check raised to 800,000. 9.2 million is his entire stack. And a nice play by Albert here. Doesn't panic and just shove it in. Doesn't get too excited. He just is trying to keep his man in the pot.
Turn cards, the 9 of diamonds.
See if Alejandro decides to keep up this charade.
Alejandro also goes by Alex, I was told. He does check it.
The players check that turn card.
A check back.
This card is the 6 of hearts.
River, the 6 of hearts. Albert getting a little creative here.
It's very nice, actually, what Albert is doing. It's hard not to go for all of it when you have a big hand, but when your opponent has a lot of bluffs in his hand and not a lot of good cards, not a lot of good hands that you can extract value from.
And
keep him
Alejandro
bluffing.
does check.
600.
Albert bets
600?
600,000.
600,000.
Albert bets 600,000.
There's a little head shake there from Albert. That might be a little tell. He was feigning a little weakness and indecision before that value bet.
With the 600,000 river.
All right. So Albert increases his stack by 1.3 million.
I'm curious to what Alejandro was check raising as a bluff with there. I wonder what that other card was.
Maybe we let them know.
All right, so first place in this event is 361,000, which includes a trip to the WPT World Championship at the Wynn Las Vegas, and in addition to getting your name on the Mike Sexton Champions Cup, which you also have your name there, and Tony does as well. So Tony going for his second title today, and the other 5 players trying to get on there for the very first time. It means a lot to be on that Sexton Cup, absolutely. And then in addition to that, they win the Daniel Arsham Trophy, which is a new trophy that we have on the World Poker Tour for this season. We'll see how that goes as well. All right. Albert lays down ace-4 of spades.
It's a pretty tight fold there.
Last
playing
night he
six-handed.
was playing these hands. I can promise you that. Much different Albert yesterday.
Scott looking at a 9-7 offsuit, and it does look like he's considering a little blind steal with the 9-7 off.
Raise, make it 2.
This is, I'm sure this is more aggressive than his opponents expect. But he was pretty active last night too, Scott was.
Yes, he was. And did get a fold from Alejandro. Now to Jeremy. Yet to play a hand yet. And does fold. So Scott gets that one through.
All these players, they give us a little bio sheet for us to learn a little bit about them from the night before, and Jeremy Joseph called Scott Eskenazi his favorite poker player.
That's true.
Tell them it's the WPT 25 deck.
On the other way.
I know, they have the aces opposite.
Oh,
Tell them it's the WPT 25 deck.
all right. It's WPT 25 deck.
Ben Irwin just entered the shot. He's the tournament director, poker room manager here, and one of the most loved tournament director, poker room managers.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ben's
On the
not
tour.
a tournament director. Let's
Sorry,
get that
poker room
straight.
manager.
He's a
Got it.
director of poker operations, which
Okay.
he runs the room.
Got
You know,
it.
everything from top to bottom. So, yeah, when I come here, I am the tournament director, and I work for Ben, and Ben is not only an excellent boss, but a great host for all the events. If you've not yet been to Thunder Valley, you need to come up here and just be a part of it. It's a lot of fun. There was a lot of poker this trip, these 2 weeks, but there's a lot of things that we do off the felt as well. We had an opening party. They had a golf outing. They have Top Golf. They do all kinds of things here for the players. Of course, the steakhouse and
We had a wine tour.
a wine tour. It's just, you know, it's more than just poker here when you come to Thunder Valley, and I think they like it that way. They like to, as Ben say, turn it up. He likes to turn it up.
Being Thunder Valley's national ambassador, I basically just host all of these parties and hang out with everyone while I'm here. And so Ben is actually my boss too.
Yeah,
Good boss to have.
he's definitely a good boss to have. The general manager here, Don Clayton, is a big, strong supporter of poker, and you know it shows. It shows. They gave great hotel rates. Fortunately, we ran out of rooms this time, but you know that's just a victim of its own success. And so it was exciting to be here. And you know, unfortunately, some people actually had to stay off property, which doesn't usually happen for these events. So we're looking for something even bigger and better next year. And Ben and I have already talked about some of the things we can do to even make this a better festival next year, and I believe it will be.
I mean, the hotel room's selling out, and we're going to have to tell all the poker players to get in early because there's only so many in the whole place. You gotta know it's going to be a big festival. You got to get in early.
For sure.
And they have big acts out here too. I mean, Kevin James was here while we were here.
Yes,
you know?
Bruno Mars was here.
Well, not while we were here, but yes, Bruno Mars was here.
Exactly.
The new venue.
The new venue. Seats 4,500 people, so Albert calls. Out of the small blind for 100,000 with 6-5 offsuit. Now, big blind ante is 100,000. It's in the middle, so we get a raise from Victor to 350, and a pretty quick call from Albert with 6-5.
This is, yeah, Victor's just raising just because his hand is good in the position.
And Albert does flop the open end straight draw and checks.
Albert's not going to be pushed around. He tried to limp in for cheap, but isn't going to be forced to fold with the 6-5.
Top pair now here in the turn for Victor with his queen jack,
300,000.
and he bets 300,000.
300 to call.
Now,
Albert checks Victor, bets out 300,000.
Pretty sure he's not going to fold the open ender. Could turn it into a bluff.
10 seconds.
you hear our dealer Travis Fender
Time.
saying he had 10 seconds left. He did go for a time extension. It means he has an additional 30 seconds. Now, they don't have to throw those in. They'll automatically be taken away if you go past that 30-second window.
That clock staring you in the face does add a little extra
Raise with
pressure.
900.
Oh, raises to 900,000.
I really like this play here. It's probably not going to work since Victor has top pair, but if you didn't know that, if you didn't necessarily doesn't always have top pair there, this 6 high might just win the pot.
Me being the amateur here, I would always assume that he has something bigger than even an open ender. So I'd be put in a tough spot here. How do you feel if you were Victor here?
Yeah, not comfortable at all, especially since you only have 3.5 million. But there are a lot of draws out there. You can see both. There's 2 flush draws. He has probably played a decent amount with Albert. Albert does play some tournaments out here. And they got to play together a whole bunch last night. I wouldn't expect a fold, but it's really uncomfortable, and then you're likely to face river pile also.
He does make the call.
Victor calls for 900,000. River
Card is a 6, and Albert makes a pair here.
Albert could easily have hearts. That's another thing that might check raise bluff on the turn. A lot of times the presence of the 6 will make him want to just check it instead of bluffing, because now you have a bluff catcher. You have a little bit of value in that 6.
10 seconds.
And Albert's going for the time chip here. Looking over at Victor's stack.
There are a lot of good hands that make sense for Albert to have here. This is, if he
1.2
goes for it, I don't.
1.2 million.
Ooh, he goes for a pretty small size compared to the pot.
You prefer something bigger there.
Yeah, I think if he's gonna make this bluff, I think it should be all in, but this is credible. It's just now Victor's gonna be getting such a good price that even if he's not sure, he is gonna be laid, over 3 to 1. So he only has to be right 25% of the time for it to be correct to call here.
Time extended.
And you see he didn't put that time chip out. It automatically comes off if you get down to the bottom.
A lot of hands it's got there. Some straight draws, the flush draw. Some two pairs.
10 seconds.
I wouldn't want to be in Victor's spot. I would think that I was beat, but getting the price, I think I would most of the time call, but maybe not because it's a big part of your stack. With
He's at second time extension now. I mean, it's a big part of his stack, so it
Yeah.
makes sense that he's taking all of his time here.
What a big spot for these two. This is wow, and it gets through. What a play by Tapia.
Tapia.
Oh, he's gonna show it too. What a player.
Oh, Victor shaking his head there.
Just sick. Oh man, he is just gonna be sick now. Can't blame Victor for that. That was just. I mean, it was. If he called and lost, he would have been down to 1.8 million, I think.
Less, I think.
He had 2.6. Yeah, it would have been. He would have been down like 15 big blinds.
And that's just a sickening feeling if you're a Victor there.
Oh, it's so brutal.
I mean, a lot of people say never show your cards. I don't know. In that spot, I think it might be okay. Who knows?
There's a lot of there's strategy in it. You know, you want to steam up your opponent sometimes if you want to get more calls. If you want,
Right.
if you want more action. I think it's a viable strategy.
And this being a live stream table, these players will get the opportunity on break to hear from their friends. They don't have their phones now, but they will have them at break time. And, you kind of want to see what that player had. Now you don't have to wait.
It
You
depends,
know right now.
Some players don't want the information. They want to play without getting any extra side
What do you
information.
think? Are you a guy that would be checking from your friends and seeing what happened and things like that?
Definitely. I want as much information as possible. It might, even if I get steamed up, too bad. It's worth it.
And now Victor with King 10, after seeing that last hand, does that change the way you play?
It shouldn't, but it's pretty
Tough not
hard.
to.
Yeah,
Tough not to.
you got a frog in your throat for sure.
All right. Victor with King 10 offsuit and Tony with Jack 9 suited. There's a 9 right there in the window, and the Jack, and a club as well. Great flop for Tony Dunst here, but Victor does have the open ender on the flop with that King as well. And so Tony betting 150.
It's very small, so
Victor could get in a lot of trouble here or win a big pot, I think.
he could check raise here. He could also just peel. Tony's giving him a very good price to just call. And he might look like he's steaming, if he does check raise. So he might get more action than he wants.
And there it is. That's 7 on the turn. So Victor has turned a straight here. And he does check. Tony can't love that turn card, however.
I think Tony is still going to bet for value. 2 pair blind versus blind is still a very strong hand, even on that board.
Tony bets 450.
When people bluff in Tony's spot, they don't often bluff the river, so I don't think Victor's going to just call. I think he's going to shove it in here. Ooh, he does just call.
Made the call there.
River card brings the 5 of diamonds.
River card is a 5.
Puts a second one-liner out there, which makes it even less likely that Tony's going to bet for value.
If Victor checks here, Tony's probably just going to turn it over, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think if it wasn't a 5, I think that he may have still bet for value with his 2 pair.
200,000.
Huh.
Victor bets 200,000.
Okay.
Victor bet's so small here that there's no chance Tony's folding.
Yep. And Tony's not going to like what he sees here, as Victor did turn the straight. Pretty much the worst possible start for Tony Dunst here at this final table. But he was, like I said, very short last night. He was patient and built it right back up. And he knows he's got the most experience at this final table. So if you're in that spot, you can't panic, right?
No, Tony's definitely not going to panic. He can suck it up and play a short stack if he has to.
I know if I'm in his shoes, I am on tilt right now, not knowing what's going on, and I'm just going to probably be out in 6.
or getting all your chips in anyway. You might win the pot.
Exactly.
What a sigh of relief there from Victor now. He, you know, his tournament life was spiraling out of control after that.
Yes.
After that hand against Tapia, and now he's right back to where he was.
All right. Auregi has folded his 10-7 suited. Jeremy now with ace-8. We're playing 75-125 now. 125 in the big blind ante as well. The ante does not reduce here at the final table on the World Poker Tour. I think that's the right way to do it. You want a little more action there. And Victor now on the button with Jack-7.
Yeah, forcing the action is good.
There's a fold there. Tony Dunst with King-Queen is going to get some chips in here. King-Queen of clubs. And he does call. Scott with ace-deuce.
25 big blinds for Tony and a limp Scott with ace-deuce suited. It's pretty interesting. He could go for it all. He could raise a little bit. If he does, Tony's probably going to shove.
Raise it, 400.
Scott raises to 400,000 with the ace-deuce suited.
I don't think Tony loves being all in already, but I assume he's going to. Oh, he just calls. Okay.
All right. So Scott with a slightly better hand. He can't know that, but an ace-deuce. And he flops a wheel.
My goodness.
Unbelievable.
Everything is going just buckets for Tony.
1 club on the board. And a continuation bet from Scott to 225.
This is a GTO call, but it would be... It's hard to win with king high, and you're pretty short stacked.
Turn card's another club. Another club. So now Tony has a flush draw. And Scott still with that wheel. I mean, this is some pretty crazy hands here at the final table already. I love it. So much fun. And Scott bets 650.
650.
Tony checks and Scott bets 650,000.
Oh boy.
Tony is trying to decipher if there's enough hands that he can jam here and get Scott to fold some hands. He is getting a good price to call. An okay price to call.
And he does so.
Tony's call river card is...
Oh my God. This is unbelievable.
It's just every street and every hand is terrible for Tony.
Unbelievable. Tony checks. I mean,
2.6 million in the pot. Scott has 2.6 million in stack. Tony has 2.2.
All in.
oh my God.
That is the natural order of things, is to shove, and I just don't see Tony folding this.
No
He
way.
calls pretty quickly.
And there's a wheel for Scott Eskenazi.
Ace of diamonds, deuce of diamonds. Showing
My God.
King, queen, king of clubs.
I think Scott has him covered just
Scott
by a
does
little
have him
bit.
covered.
Just
And
hit
Tony
shock.
Dunst has gone.
Deuce of clubs, I didn't know how bad.
2.55.
2.55?
Yeah, Tony has been eliminated. He's going to finish 6th place, started in 2nd. And Tony
Our sixth place finisher
has to be just sick right now.
Yeah, that's really brutal for Tony. That's just such a brutal start. He was coming in with 70 big blinds and second in chips, and clearly the favorite. I mean,
He just ran so bad here.
I saw
You know, being in the booth here today. I'm supposed to be with Tony and you, and you know, it's just like it's kind of heartbreaking. I did a live stream with him the day before. We talked about this event, how excited he was to come here, coming into the final table second in chips. It's just got to be, it's got to be sick. Like I said, I'm sick for him.
Yeah, that was hard to watch. I mean, we've already said Scott's a close friend of mine, but that was still that was just